I'm going to ask that save your juicy questions, your big juicy questions for the end. But if you're just not understanding something that I'm saying, or if I've used an acronym or something, if you need me to clarify, absolutely, just interrupt me. If not, pop them in the chat or just save them for the end or what have you, and write them down somewhere, and we'll be able to get to them. Okay? All right, ready? You ready? I'm ready. Oh my gosh, you guys, do you see my dress? This is my dress that I wear on my first day of school. And I don't know if you can see that, but there are little tiny skulls. So that is from me to you, my first day of school dress.
That's awesome.
Thank you. I quite like it. Let me share my screen and we'll get started. Like I say, I'm going to go back and forth between sharing this. And we are going to have some time to be together, a fair bit of time of listening to me, but that's okay. Come along. Let me grab this. Okay. Does it say welcome to prep school?
Yes.
Yes.
Ha! I did it right. Okay, that's great. But I've actually done one thing wrong. So let me just pull something away here. And where are you? Oh, I think I might have to undo that actually. Sorry, friends. Sorry, let me just fix one thing. Ah, this time. This time, nothing is going to let me down. Let me go here. There we go. Ha! Golden. Okay. Now, for anybody who is, like I just was, struggling with their tech, don't worry, this is being recorded, so you're not going to miss anything. And, you can even just sort of let it go and be like, I'm going to get it on the recording or what have you. Just remember, you're here, and that is pretty much all that matters at this moment. Leah, you've still got the job of letting people in. Beautiful. Thank you. So today we're going to really help you connect into the work that we're going to be doing together over these next few weeks. I'm going to give you an intro to the workbooks. I'm going to walk you through the legal, administrative, financial documentation that you will get to know this week and then get to do in the weeks ahead. This week, it's actually a fair bit of information coming at you, but honestly, not a lot of homework. Just a little bit to kind of ground yourself, situate yourself, and understand what's going to be coming next. I'm going to close off with a couple of tips for helping you get started, but also importantly, helping you get finished. Okay. And we will have a little bit of time set aside for Q&A. And as we go through, like I say, if there's clarifying questions, you go right ahead and bring those on too. Okay? So you know who I am. I'm Krista. I'm a funeral director in Balmer End of Life doula. I am somebody who has been teaching in this space for many years now, and I have kind of created this program a few years ago because over and over, especially when I was working day to day in the funeral home, I would see people who had just experienced the worst sort of few weeks of their lives as somebody was coming to the end of their life, and then after they died, oh, somebody's on the phone. Okay, that's fair. Let's mute that. And then after they died, everything just sort of overwhelming and so intense. And I just thought there's got to be some way that we can walk people through so that they're actually doing this and doing it in a way that is meaningful and makes sense and is something that people want to do rather than something that is like a big task. So let's bring people together, right? Let's bring people together and have some fun with this. Believe it or not, we are going to have some fun. And something that I would love to know, some people already told me in an apologetic email, oh, I didn't have time to do things. No problem. But some of you might have looked. You might have looked ahead and you might have asked your, answered the question that I asked of you, which is sort of what's bringing you here? How are you feeling as you come into this space? For many, many folks, it's going to be something along the lines of, I don't really want to leave a mess, right? For some folks, it might be, I'm just so excited to really dive into something that I've been putting off for a long time. So do me a favor. I will stop, actually. I'll stop the share. Pop into the chat. Just your name. Tell me where you're coming from so that everybody else can see. I have this info, but you probably don't, if you're comfortable with that. And just a word or a phrase, how you're feeling about where you are right now, why you're here, maybe how you're feeling, something along those lines, okay? And if anybody struggles to know how to put something in the chat, don't worry. Just do your best. Okay? If you can't access that, that's okay too. I'll show you my gold stars in a minute. Oh, there's Lauren. I'll let her in. There's my chat. Okay. Leah is up in Williams Lake. Um, and there you go. Uh, Passionately curious. Oh, okay. I'm totally down with that. Leah gets
Hmm.
the sticker. You're doing great. Okay. And I think I'm going to add the one that says, keep it up. No, seriously, friends, I am a funeral director. I can totally outweigh you. Name, where you're from, and how you're feeling as we start into this evening together. Hey, Jess. Anya, at like after 10 o'clock in -50 is feeling keen, if you can believe that. I am very impressed. I am very impressed with that.
Can we just chat using the chat?
Jenny from Bowen, feeling uncertain yet anticipating great things. Who was that? Was that Brian?
Yeah, that was me. Do we have
That
to
was
read
you.
it or can we just talk it?
So, great question. Go ahead and talk it
I
out.
talk easier than I type.
Do it. Talk it out.
Well, you've captured. I got it pretty easy. Basically, I knew someone whose father had died and left his family in a real quandary because
Beautiful.
nothing was prepared. So that was one reason. She's also taken your course a year or so ago, so she really
Oh.
got me into this. And the main question I have is I don't really have anyone that can really help me out. So I think that's my
We're
main.
even going to talk about that one tonight.
Well, that's one of
So
my, yeah, I'm stealing that already from from your information, but that's where I am.
that is excellent. Thank you.
Okay.
And thanks too for asking if you can just talk. Part of the reason that I get direct people to the chat is that it is super helpful for each other
Mhm.
to send messages to each other. And it's a bit of a sneaky way to make sure people know how to do it. And also when we're this big, if everyone shares out loud, then sometimes things go a little too long. But Brian,
Okay.
if it's easier for you to talk than type, then you have full permission to do so.
Okay.
Court is from Gibsons, BC. Learning for yourself and making sure your parents, what a brilliant thing. And Sheila is in, where is that? Is that in where is that? Sheila, if you can unmute and tell me.
Suntula, we're on an island next door to Alert Bay. Catch a ferry from Port McNeill.
Wow. Okay. That's excited. Nibbling around the edges for ages. Oh, I love to see that. And Christine's in Greenwood, and right now in Kamloops. Is it crazy cold in Kamloops too, or is it more reasonable? Kind of like halfway. Okay. Okay, that's fair. Totally good. I know we've got a Texan in the room tonight, but Sabina might have some difficulty writing it out. And Penny heard me on CBC. Oh my gosh, and we've been together in other places too, Penny. You guys, this is so great to sort of see where everyone is at. As a little, you are going to get stickers, but the other thing that I'm going to show you as a little thank you for that. Um, Look, I made it funny. Ready or not, here I come. This is I do have to tell you that I actually brought you here tonight under false pretenses because everybody thinks that we're going to be talking about death in the class that's called Death's Apprentice Prep School, right? We are. but it's actually going to take us a few days to get, a few weeks to get there. So tonight and next class, we're really not talking about the end of life. We're talking about all the things that may and could happen before the end of life. And then in our third week, that's when we're finally going to get to have some fun with death. Uh, Weird way of saying it, but but that's when we'll do that. And you'll be ready for it by then. It'll be worth waiting for. Next week in particular, there's a lot that we're going to go through about all of the things that may and can happen that are so worth preparing for. But when we do finally get there, you're going to be in great shape. And what's funny is that I don't use checklists for this work. And I think that this is a little bit weird comparatively to how other planners approach this, but I I don't really like checklists because they really basically they focus on tasks, like rather than people. And a checklist might say along the lines of, I see these ones all the time. Choose an executor, it says. Or it says write a will. That's like number one on the list of things that you're supposed to do. And the thing is that doesn't actually help you make any considerations about how to choose. Like Brian said, I don't know who to ask. So having the very first thing on your checklist be something that you can't even crack into is an absolute route for failure. You're not going to get it done. What happens when you're if like this kind of planning actually means thinking about relationships and it means thinking about responsibilities and there's a sort of readiness, there's like an emotional readiness that kind of goes into it. And you don't get that with checklists, right? And also, checklists can give you a really false sense of completion because the checklists are usually very focused on the administrivia, but so like the little things that need to get done so that your estate is in a good place. Yes, it's important, but it's not as important as having the conversations, as making sure that people know how to speak on your behalf when you're unable to do so. You literally can't do that by just handing somebody something with a bunch of boxes ticked in. These are bigger questions, and I'm going to kind of guide you through the questions. And the third reason is that sometimes, like, I did this a couple of weeks ago. I went to the store, not a word of a lie, because I wanted to make lemon meringue pie, and I came home without lemons because lemons weren't on my list. And if you don't have the right list, you're not going to have the right outcome. And I just find that the lists have to be so long to make them right that they're overwhelming instantly. People ask me all the time, have you seen this book? Have you seen that book? Have you heard of The Death Binder? Have you heard of? Yes, I have. And you know what I can tell you about every single one of them? They sit unfinished on somebody's bookshelf because they're overwhelming and because there's no guidance. And so my hat is totally off to you because this is a little overwhelming. This is the paperwork that we're going to do together week by week, but we're breaking it up and we're going to go through it slowly and we're going to understand it. So each little piece will be doable. And this isn't going to be just sitting on your shelf, unfinished, making you feel a little bit guilty, right? Right? I'm getting some amens here. Finished, not fantastic. This is something that you're going to hear me say over and over and over and over. Finished, not fantastic. And the other thing that I'll tell you 1,000 times in a week probably is good enough is good enough. It it is it is you can go down so many rabbit holes trying to get this perfect, and I don't want you to get perfect. In fact, I want you to do it once because in another few years you're going to have to do it again our lives, this documentation, this work that we do, things can change in our lives that mean we have to go back and revisit it. So don't aim for perfection. Aim for finished. Aim for done. Done is totally better than perfect, right? Um, there's there's some like there's one piece of this puzzle that I'm going to introduce you to today that's the administrivia, like the really boring passwords and asset lists and all that kind of stuff. And it's boring and it kind of takes a long time. but it's not the most important stuff that you have to do, to be honest. A lot of people get really hung up there. Um, and I have a bit of a workaround that I'll show you in a couple of minutes, in a 10, 15 minutes or so. And if you just do these sort of bare minimum, like these bare basics, you're already going to be so far beyond where everybody else is. You're going to be finished. It's not going to be fantastic, but it's going to feel great because you're going to have it in a good enough state. All right. Um, it is a very comprehensive few weeks that we're going to spend together, but there are some things that we will not cover, and I think it's important for you to know. Um, some of these things are advanced directives. These have different names in different parts of North America, but here in Canada, an advanced directive is a legal document that provides very specific medical instruction. We're not going to do that. We are going to do something way more important than that, but we're not going to do advanced directives, and I'll tell you a lot more about why next week. We are, however, going to go very deep into the medical planning piece, and we're not doing an advanced directive. It's kind of exciting, actually. We're not going to talk much, hardly at all, about medical assistance in dying. This is something that's legal in all parts of Canada and several parts of the United States. We have a couple of questions to get a little bit of personal reflection about medical assistance in dying, but we're not going to go deep into that at all. A lot of the legalities like Henson trusts and disability trusts and other kind of very specific legal forms or things outside of the very key documents of the will, the power of attorney, the medical advocacy. We're not going to go into any of those other things. And we're not going to focus on the after you're dead part. We're going to get you all the way up to dead. And we're going to have everything in place so that your estate closing will be easier. But this isn't a class that's for people who are already dealing with somebody who's dead. However, you doing all of this work is going to be such a gift to everyone around you. I totally promise you that. All right. So let me just stop for one sec. Feeling okay where we are so far? Anything coming up? Yes. Okay.
I have a question.
Yes, my love.
Yeah, sorry. Just noticing in the chat, nobody specifically said that they are wanting to become a death doula, and I do, and I'm just wondering whether like
Oh, yes.
is
Um,
are some
okay.
people
There's a
taking
couple
this as a
people who
prep for
aren't
that?
here and a couple people who are on who are not lit up, I think. Any doulas, people in the prep school for doulas, give us a wave. There we go. Anya, 1, 2, 3, 4, and there might be yes. And then there's at least one person who's not here, and I'm just trying to remember from my list if any of these people who are not lit up are also in the prep school for doulas. There's quite a few in the other one. There's 13 of you all together between the 4 and the 7. All right.
Thank you.
Which was one more. That was 12 was supposed to be the cap, and one I just sort of made a slight miscalculation and didn't have the thing closed in time. So anyway, lucky 13, right? Lucky 13 is what I say. What Anya is talking about is that there's two kind of groups or cohorts in each of our classes. Some people are here for 4 weeks. And some people are here for, let me see if I can do it, 8. And the 8-week people are people who are emerging into end-of-life doula work or already established doulas who are trying to strengthen their practice around things like holistic advanced care planning. I think, Anya, you haven't had time to read some of the information about where and how the doulas get the deeper work. But for now, just lean into the fact that you're here with everybody learning about your own holistic advanced care planning. Okay. And you can't hear that because I know that my settings are such that you can't hear this, but my cat is literally going to knock my door down. So I have to just open the door. One sec. One sec. Come here, you big fat. Well, oh, there we go. Oh, she's like kind of enormous too, so I sometimes think she could break the door down, honestly. So, all right, let me go back to sharing so that I can move you through this. All right. So tonight, there's sort of more tonight in terms of just gentle landing so that you really are kind of equipped and you know where to find things and how to move through our time together before we get deep into the nitty-gritty. But don't you worry, there will be much nitty and much gritty going on. I will start you with the workbooks. For anyone who hasn't found their way into the Learning Hub, don't worry. We've got office hours. If you don't know how to get into the Learning Hub to figure out what those office hours are, just send me an email and I'll send you a link so that you can come on Mondays. For the regular folks in class, Mondays, every Monday except Canadian holidays, from 10:30 to 11:30, we have an hour set aside to talk about what's come up for you. It's a kind of a freestyle open Q&A. Sometimes nobody comes and I sit and do my work. Sometimes 4 or 6 people come, right? I think 8 is the most I've ever had in one session. Sometimes it's a couple of us. Sometimes people come in and they ask like 2 questions and then they go, pop out again, and that's it. Sometimes we hang out for the whole hour. So it is ongoing and you can enter and access anytime you want. It's a great way to get through the work and kind of figure it out like, oh, I understand it in theory, but how does it apply to me, right? For my beloved doulas, you have that and an extra hour as well that's on the same day a couple of hours later. If you want to come to one or both, you're completely allowed. Okay, completely welcome. So with our workbooks, you've got two. One is the Learn workbook. First, learn the things and then do the stuff, right? That's pretty much it. In our workbooks, whether you've printed them up, if you're a printed up kind of person, that's terrific, but you're going to see at the end of every section in the Learn guide, it'll say what to do now. So that's kind of like your homework every week. Read through the Learn workbook, and then you find the rhythm that works for you. What might work best is that you come and you read through the Learn workbook, and then you actually wait until you hear me talking through things before you attempt the work in the Do workbook. For others, you'll be like, oh, I'm going to go directly over and I'm going to do this work and I'm just going to ask some questions later. You find your rhythm, but there's no wrong way to do this, all right? I have the same information being delivered in various different ways because we're all various different learners. So you can go to some short little videos that are in the Learning Hub. You can listen to me tonight. You could listen to the recording tomorrow. You know, if you're like, I want to just hear that part again. You could not even come and just work from the workbooks. It's kind of coming at you a few different ways. That way, I'm pretty sure we'll capture everyone, okay? What if while you're going, you have questions? Can anybody answer that? Just shout it out. What if, yeah, tell me, Brian, what if you have questions as you're going?
Sorry, but what if I have questions about
Yeah.
what?
What if you have questions while we're going through this?
Email you.
I
Yes!
do the chat.
Email me.
Or
Email
I
me.
don't, but can I interrupt verbally too? You said I could.
Oh yeah, you can.
Yeah.
As we're doing this, but what if during the weekend you're working on something and you're like, I'm stuck. What should you do? Email me.
Email me. Yeah, yeah. Fair
Yeah,
enough. Thank
just
you.
email me. I'm here. You've got me. This is literally what you have signed up for. You've got me, and I'm here to answer at any time. Office hours are a great opportunity as well. All right. And then while you're going through my workbooks, you're going to see question after question after question. This whole thing is asking you questions about what you want in certain and various situations. If you don't like any of these questions, skip them. Write in your own. Do, don't do it. Do it. Good enough is good enough. Don't get stuck. If you do get stuck somewhere, all I want you to do is just go back to it later. Do the easy stuff first. All right? Because a lot of us will kind of fall into a bit of a perfectionist streak. Oh, I'm not really sure, so I'm going to go look something up, and then I'm going to find myself down on this web page, and then I'm going to be here, and da, 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 oh, what about this? And I should go ask that person. And no, this is only going to make the project harder. As as simplistic as this sounds, just stick to the workbooks, stick to what is laid out for you and do what you can every single week. All right? It will get you trust the process, I think is what the kids say. All right? So that's actually, oh, sorry, I skipped one, sorry. The first part of the process, and this is again, like I spent a little bit more time tonight where getting into sort of the backgroundy things. But I want to talk to you about what I'm going to be asking you to do this week and why I'm going to be asking you to do it. All right. So this week, your whole homework really is thinking about who you might name as your advocate. So we have three different people ultimately, or three different roles ultimately that we need to fill. And after you go through this with me, when you read the stuff and when you reflect on the questions, you don't have to have an answer this week, but you have to start thinking about it. Who might be your support crew? For some of you, you might have a spouse. It's an easy answer. You think, oh, yeah, this will just be perfect. I'll make this guy do it. Or it might be the exact opposite, where you're like, gosh, I'm not married. I don't have kids. I live far from family. I don't have a super active social life. Those questions might swirl for a little longer for you, right? But once you have read things through and once I explain, which I'm going to take a little bit of time to do now, who you might want to be looking for, the type of person that can fill these roles and what these roles are, eventually it will become clear. Remember those checklists that I was telling you about that start with name an executor, right? Or write your will? That's not what you're doing. This week, I don't want you to pick your person. I want you to think about who your person or your people can be, could be, right? Each of these advocates have mm, sort of like a different role to play, and you very well might pick somebody different for each of these roles, or you might pick the very same person for all three. You might pick somebody who's really good at two of these things and then pick somebody else for the other role, right? So all you're doing, this is really the bulk of your homework this week, is thinking about who these people might be, right? And if you feel like you don't have people that you can ask, I want you to just literally say that out loud. I want you to write it down. I want you to just acknowledge that and then keep doing the work as we go through week by week, because what you will find is when you're finished all of these answers, it's not going to be such a big ask. A lot of people think, gosh, it's going to be way too hard to ask this person because I'm not super close to them. But let me tell, and I'm actually going to go off my screen I really want to I want to see you when I tell you this. When we don't do this work, when we are stopped from doing it because we feel like we don't have anyone to ask, what actually happens is somebody gets appointed. And let me tell you, those people are going to be mad at you. All right. The person that you ask when you say, I've got all of this done, and here's where my things are, and here's everything that I've learned, and here are the things that I want you to say on my behalf if I ever need someone to speak on my behalf. It's actually not a very big ask. Actually, someone is most likely to say, wow, thank you. This is going to make it easier to care for you at a time when you can't care for yourself. But if you let it if you let it stop you, right? I don't have anybody, I'm not close enough, da, da, da. Trust me, somebody's going to get appointed anyway. And that sucks for everybody. So, yeah, truth. All right. But meanwhile, remember that the homework this week is not find somebody, not pick somebody. It's not get it done. It's make space to think about it. Because as you make space to think about it, things will become clearer and clearer. And what you might actually find is that somebody who you are thinking to ask might, in fact, turn around and say, "Hey, I was actually thinking about this work for myself too.
Hmm.
So how would you feel about working in this regard, doing this for me?" So there's all sorts of really beautiful things that can happen in this space, in this sort of space of uncertainty around it and vulnerability. So go for it. Go deep with it. All right? Share. All right, so that's naming your advocates. The next thing that I want you to do in our time together, like over this week, while you're reflecting on the work in the workbooks. So the only other kind of bit of homework that you have to do is choose your approach, right? Choose your approach. Are you going to book time with a lawyer? Do you have a complex estate? Do you have a high value estate? Do you have like two ex-husbands and one like stepchild that you really want to write out of the will, but three stepchildren that you really want to keep in the will? And do you have like offshore property in Hong Kong? And but like, you know what? Get a lawyer. That is absolutely, you need a lawyer. You might have a simpler estate. You might have a simpler situation. And in those cases, you might enjoy using an online tool. So I have used both, right? I have done some of my work with an online tool and I have done some of my work with a lawyer. And both have there's great reasons to pick either of those things. But that's your homework this week is to just reflect honestly on your situation and what you might need. Okay. So it's actually really not that hard. And this week, maybe at the end of this week, you'll be like, you know what? I think I'm going to go with a lawyer. Great. Make an appointment for after we're done. I'm going to get you to make an appointment for weeks, maybe somewhere around after you're finished, maybe in the sixth week, after you're finished this work, maybe make the appointment then, because you're going to have things that you'll be able to take in, and your lawyer will just waltz you through what needs to get done. If you think, gosh, everything is pretty simple, and actually, I would like to use one of the online tools. Krista recommends one. I have a friend over here that really likes one. They're all great. You can't really go wrong in North America with these online tools. Great. You're not going to actually do the work this week or next week. Oh, I've got Lauren in the waiting room. Oh, it's good. There she is. She's come in. Lovely. Um, you're not going to actually do this paperwork this week. But if you wanted to, you could set up your account on Legal Wills or something like that. So that's it. Like it's really hardly any homework this week. Really nice, sort of gentle approach to getting you in. And one of the things that I'm going to make you do, this is like your bare minimum. Like you'll get an A if you just do this. Pages in the due workbook, I think it's page 5 through 9, is it? Um, page 8. Yeah, page 8, 9, 10, and 11. There you go. 4 pages. If you do 4 pages in the due workbook that starts with critical information for your executor or next of kin, and then just runs for 4 pages, you will actually have more information all in one place than like 92% of North Americans. And this all by itself is more useful than you can really shake a stick at. And funnily enough, most planning checklists don't even include these things. The information that I'm asking you for here on these 4 pages, if you do nothing else this week, do this, and trust me, you're going to be able to answer all of these questions. You're going to get they're not even hard, right? If you do this, the reason that I'm getting you to do that is putting all of that information in one place actually makes it really easy once you're dead. This is the information that we need to register your death. This is the information that your executor and next of kin needs so that your death certificates can be written up. Sometimes they're very simple questions, but it's the kind of thing that you might have a little bit of information over here and you might have something else there, and your kid or your aunt or your mom might know the answers to these questions, but you don't have them all in one place. So
Mm.
just putting them all, this is your little A plus hack. Do this, don't do anything else except think and read. Oh, you're absolutely golden. I have totally set you up for an easy win this week. Let me just do one thing here. Does that sound good so far?
Okay.
Possible? Okay,
I'll take
good.
all the easy wins I can get.
Yes, this is it, right? It's a bit sneaky because next week is going to kick your butt, but but you will have some spectacular wins this week. All right, let me get you something else here then. So what I'm going to do for, let's see, what time are we at? 7:40. So like, settle in. This is probably going to be about 15 minutes of me going through three pieces that you are going to put together over the next little while. And we're going to do together, but I want you to have this sort of background and basics so that you understand what you're doing and really more importantly, why you're doing it. All right. And you you will hear me say this information now. Don't worry about taking notes and things like that because it's in the Learn workbook. All right, I'm speaking it because some people prefer to hear, others prefer to read. You just sort of let it wash over you and it will fill into the cracks. Okay. So there are three things that we definitely need in place for a whole holistic advanced care plan, right? The first one is medical advocacy documents. These are very simple, very effective. The reason that I call them medical advocacy documents is that they literally have a different name in every single province and state. Here in British Columbia, where I live, this is called a representation agreement, Section 9. Where you live, it might be called something like a healthcare proxy. It might be called something like a power of attorney for healthcare, right? But what this is a document that names someone to speak on your behalf in case you're unable to, but only for medical and personal care. All right. They're not advance directives. They're not living wills. They don't outline like medical, well, if they're done properly, they don't outline medical instructions. They simply name someone who can speak on your behalf. So that's the first person that I need you to start thinking about. Who would I name to speak on my behalf, right? If I couldn't, and they had to answer medical questions or personal care questions. So the kind of person that you name in this document, what you need to know is that by naming someone in one of these medical advocacy documents, depending on what it's called where you live, this person, you entrust this person and they have the same power that you do. If you don't name someone, the doctors will absolutely look around. Something terrible's happened, you're lying there, you can't answer a question for yourself. They will, in all parts of North America, they can look around for what's called a temporary decision maker. And there's a very strict list in all states and provinces of who this is and in what order they can be asked. And those people, those temporary decision makers, don't have the same power that a named, legally named in a legal document medical advocate has. So even if you think, well, I don't really need to do this because I have a wife and she is going to be the person who will answer these questions anyway. Well, yes, but I still want you to write the document because it will give your wife the right to speak on your behalf in a much more powerful way. It truly allows for advocacy to take place. Okay? So if you don't have somebody named, there you're not going to be like It's not, they're not just going to like let you die on a gurney or something. But the thing is if you have strong opinions about something and you have an advocate who can advocate for you, you are more likely to get what you would have wanted, right? So the kind of person that I want you to think about here would be someone who lives nearby. This is ideal because they would be present in the case of urgent need, right? If something suddenly happens. So close-ish is a great idea here. And the second really important thing is somebody who understands and supports your medical and personal care wishes. Somebody that you could share the kinds of answers to the kinds of questions that we're going to go through in a lot of detail next week. What's really important to know is that this role cannot be done by a professional. The other two roles that I'm going to introduce you to, you can hire someone for. You cannot hire someone into this role. All right? Does that make sense about the medical advocate? Anything coming up for anybody?
I'm just wondering about it's Anya. I'm just wondering
Yeah.
about the proximity. Um,
Mhm.
so like, does that mean, the person that would come to mind immediately for me lives in the States, so they would have to be jumping on a plane if something happens.
Mhm.
It's my daughter, so like, she could stay here. She has Canadian citizenship, but that's not what
Great.
we're talking about.
No, it's a great question. And um, so so how far in the States? Same time zone?
Uh, yeah, she'll
Yeah.
probably be moving at
Half
some point,
a day
but
kind of thing.
she's yeah, right now she's in Delaware, but she
Yeah.
she'll probably be moving somewhere.
Okay, this is a really tricky hack. I'm going to share something that's really tricky that see if you can follow this. What people sometimes do when they're in that exact circumstance is they name someone else as the primary person, all right? Someone who is literally like next door, right? Guy who you walk the dog for who lives next door to you. You then name the person who you actually want to be that person in charge as the alternate. You do this having spoken to both of them, so everybody is totally clear on what's happening, okay? And you've got the comfort of knowing that there is somebody there who can literally be there in like seconds, minutes, hours, right?
Mm.
And then you've got the person who you actually want there who can be there in a few hours or a day. As soon as that person gets here, there is in all states and provinces a very simple process to just withdraw as the medical advocate. And then the alternate is in place as the advocate. All right. That's like 201 level stuff. That's not 101 level, but that is a great workaround for so many of us who have kin and people who we trust to do this work scattered all over the place. Right. This is a great workaround. A lot of other people just sort of say, I'm willing to take the risk. It's not that far. With the medical pieces, very often these things are not invoked quickly, right? It's like we see a bit of a decline, and so there are things that we can put in place. But ultimately, all of this documentation is meant to be pulled upon when something, could happen very, very suddenly, very unexpectedly. Make sense?
That does make sense. And I'm just wondering then, because you're speaking about being there in person, but is by phone just doesn't work? Like if they just don't have that kind of info, kind of
No.
understanding of what's going on.
No, it definitely works for things that are kind of anticipated and things that have been a long time coming and a chronic condition and that kind of thing. Absolutely. It can work relatively well. It's it's a total non-starter for the sudden.
Okay. Thank you, Krista.
Okay? Good. All right. Oh, and by the way, I really do try to sort of talk, 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 and then make sure that everybody is here with me. But if I have talk, 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 talk too much, just like yell at me, just be Krista, 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 get off screen for a second, and then I will come back to you, okay? Because I think sometimes it's hard to just plow in and interrupt me. So I really do try and do this, but I want you to be my helpers, okay? Look for the helpers. All right, so that's medical advocacy. The next one is the power of attorney documents, all right? The document is called an enduring power of attorney. It endures into incapacity. That's how you can remember that. And if you don't have a power of attorney in place, what this document does is it allows people to speak on your behalf for legal and financial matters, but not for medical things. So these are two separate documents in virtually all states and provinces. Not everywhere in North America, but for the most part, these are two separate documents with two separate names. All right. So the power of attorney, no one can step in. If you're married, a lot of people are like, oh, I don't need one because my husband can talk. No, actually, yes, if every single account you have is shared, yes. But most of us nowadays have our own accounts. Most of us have our own cell phone. We might have a magazine subscription that won't be able to get canceled unless you've got the power of attorney documents in place. All right. So it's super, super important. Many, um, if you don't have one of these in place and you suddenly become incapacitated, it can be enormously difficult for people to step in. In fact, virtually impossible. Very costly and very complicated. Getting a power of attorney in place is not that, it's not costly or complicated, but the kind of person that you want to step in for you would definitely be someone who you trust to manage financial and legal matters, right? They're going to ensure that your bills are paid, that your banking is handled. They're going to be legally responsible for protecting your assets. And one of the things that's important is that this one, like all of them really, is that there can be an immediacy to this. An enduring power of attorney endures into incapacity. So you write it when you are fit and able and mentally competent, and then it's sitting there active but not used. Then something happens, and now it's called in. Now we can say, oh, okay, thank God we've got that piece of paper here naming my friend so and so to come in and answer questions, manage financial legal matters, manage everything really, except the things that they can't do are like write a will and take out credit on your behalf. Like it's other than that, it's pretty big. Their powers are pretty big. And if you don't have one of these, the process is so enormously complex and it's always involving the courts, right? To actually gain financial control. So you really, really do want an enduring power of attorney in place. And for anybody who thinks that they have a power of attorney in place already, if you had this done maybe 15 years or so ago or more, please, what I said earlier about you can't just one and done these documents. These documents need to be reviewed and revised at various points in your life. Many years ago, 10, well, not many years, but like 15 years ago, it was still relatively common to write what's called a general power of attorney. And those are not very useful because a general power of attorney, if you have a general power, what that means is as soon as you become incapacitated, it doesn't work. It's only for people who are like away in Florida before the internet was a thing, who are off golfing and they're out of range, but they still need their businesses to be run. They're still very competent and they can make their own decisions. That's what a general power of attorney is for. An enduring power of attorney will protect you if you become incapacitated. So if you know or if you think you do have a power of attorney, please go and make sure that it is an enduring power of attorney. All right. The person that you want in this role, definitely somebody who lives nearby, is relatively proximate, right? So that they can get in there and do things. Somebody who's detail oriented, somebody who is relatively good with financial documentation, And it's really important to know that you can assign this to a professional. So there are companies that can act or individuals who can act as your power of attorney. That's not true for the medical representative, but it is true for the attorney who can act as your power of attorney. Any questions that are bubbling up there?
How,
Yes, Christina.
so
Christine.
just thinking of like, if you have a company, does that mean you have to lay a whole bunch of stuff out for them about what you want them to do, I guess, in advance?
Ah, okay. So terrific. Oh my gosh. That's another thing that's actually not totally covered in the scope of this class. Your power of attorney for your business is a separate thing. This is a power of attorney for you, for your legal and financial matters, your house, your subscriptions that you might have, things that you're selling or buying, or for you personally. But within your company, that's a whole different course, and frankly, one that I'm not competent to
No,
teach
I
on.
mean, like if you hire, like you said, you can hire a company
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
for you. So is it just you have them in place, or like I just thinking of how much detail do they have to have ahead of
What a
time?
great question. So that is so perfect. And here's the thing is that the work that we're going to do together, and you completing like a LifeLocker, doing your administrivia, your passwords, your assets, all of that kind of thing, that is a big part, whether you're hiring a company or whether you've got a person that you're going to appoint that you're going to share with them so that they know where things are, know what matters to you. Yes, that's a big part of what we're going to do together. All right?
Mhm. So I have a question.
Of course, Sheila.
If you have a business, then it's possible to have two power of attorneys, one for your personal stuff and one for your business stuff. Is that?
It is actually out of my scope to be able to answer that with enough clarity. So you to if you want to have any of this work, this planning work done for your business, you
Mhm.
really must work with a lawyer and you
Yeah.
really must have them go through. All right.
Oh, yeah. No,
Now,
I
for those
understand
of
it, but
us,
I'm just
yeah.
saying is that it is a possibility that you
Mhm.
could have two, one for
It
your
is.
business, one for your personal affairs.
You could absolutely, for example, you could have a general power of attorney in place, and that would essentially be for while you're gallivanting in like Hong Kong or something,
Mhm.
and your business is running, and you've just appointed somebody who can answer those basic, simple questions. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
It's
No, I mean,
100%.
I would ask a lawyer specifically. I didn't know you could actually
Yeah. You
possibly
can
have
have,
two.
yes, you can possibly have two. Yes. And
Okay.
Jess,
So quick question on the POA for the legal or financial. Like, how would a financial or legal, like, how would they know a business or a bank or whatever, has that you're incapacitated and that this
what a,
person,
yeah, and that they're ready to go. So, the power of attorney is written and it kind of sits there ready to be brought into action when something happens, right? Um, so these documents, unlike both a will in many places, not all, but in many places, and the medical advocacy, don't need to be notarized, don't need to be lawyered necessarily. Best practices to do so in many cases, but don't necessarily need to. The power of attorney absolutely does have to be. And then the very best practices are actually to take that documentation. I am I wrote mine, I'm 56 now. I wrote mine I think when I was 52, and I marched off to my main, not everywhere, but I marched off to my main bank and I marched off to my financial advisor and I made sure that he had certified copies that he had seen with his own eyes and that he had placed on file and whatnot. So that is a very important piece of it. Unlike these other documents that tend to just sit there waiting to be called into action, this one, there's a couple of things that you can do some things with to smooth it out should you ever need to have it called into action.
but how would your financial advisor, let's say, know that you're incapacitated?
Then your power of attorney would come in and say, Hi, mom's not doing so well. And then there's a whole series of legal checks that take place.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all like very kind of protected in both Canada and the US.
Okay.
You can't just be like, hey, look what I got, right? And
Right.
then, can I
That's
withdraw
somebody,
that 2.5 million, please?
right?
Like, no, it's very, very safe. Very, very.
Yeah. Okay.
And and there's actually sort of two levels of kind of care that come into place. If you're in a medical situation, clearly in a coma, you're not coming out, you're unable. A doctor can actually make that assessment, right? You are in a coma, you meet these various things. You are not competent, you are not able to answer your own questions, right? But there's a whole other series of questions that may involve a doctor, may involve a social worker, may involve a lawyer, may involve a bunch of other people, and is actually a relatively lengthy process and that's for things like cognitive decline, right? So, yes, Jenny.
Would that be under section 7 in BC? The
So, so Jenny, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to get us to save that one
okay.
yeah, I'm going to get us to
Okay.
save that one. No, though. Yes, yeah, it's yes and no. So Jenny's so smart, by the way, and that question might just take us down a great big rabbit hole. We're really lucky in BC because we do have something that works very similarly to a power of attorney that isn't a power of attorney, and it's what she just referenced. So we'll get into that in doula school. Okay. All right, I'm going to do the last one, which is the will. So let me get you on that. Almost everybody knows about a will, right? Funnily enough, almost everybody knows about it. And in Canada, 40% of people have a will. But when you actually ask if people know where their will is, if they know if it's up to date, and if they know what's in it, that number plummets to like single digits. I don't know the American stats, but I would be shocked if it was much different. And the will is so important. In the kind of good enough category that I was talking about, honest to God, if you do one thing, do a will. Do a will. It's so important. It is, yes, it is after you die, but it's so much after you die. It's literally without a will in place, your body may not even be able to be moved from one place to another unless there's an executor who can say, I need this person to be taken to that place. It is it is so important. Yes, it's about your stuff and your things. It names a guardian for your kids if you have minor children. It'll name a guardian for your pets. If you have pets, no matter how old they are, they don't have to be minor pets. They can be fully grown pets. It outlines how your assets and your belongings are going to be distributed after your death. It will name, for example, it could name things like donations that you'll be wanting to make, that kind of thing. So, and critically important is that the executor is the person who manages or closes your estate, right? If you don't have a will, then it's either provincial or state law that is going to decide how your assets are distributed and who looks after your kids and where does your dog go. You get no say, and nobody who loves you gets say. It's just the the government just steps in and does it according to their rules. And the will really prevents or lessens, if it doesn't completely prevent, it will almost always lessen disputes and family stress and stuff, right? You can, with a will in place, estates can be closed in months instead of years, right? So it's one of the most important things that you can have in place, and the kind of person that you might think of for your executor. So actually, the executor can also be a firm, or it can be a lawyer, or it can be a company like a trust firm or something like that, or it can be a person, right? So the will and the power of attorney you can hire people for, the medical advocacy you cannot. All right. This person, very often it makes sense. The power of attorney could also be your executor. Because think about that. While you're alive, they're already looking after everything anyway. And so when you're dead, they kind of know where everything is. So it actually makes a lot of sense, right? Sometimes I've seen, I see this all the time. People who have three kids, they're like, oh, I'll name one to be the executor, one to be the attorney and power of attorney, and then I'll name one to be the medical advocate. And it like they're doing it just for the sake of doing it. It doesn't actually make sense, right? And it can cause work. You may have one person acting in all three roles, or you might divvy them up, but divvy them up in a way that makes sense, right? The person who is going to be closing your estate after you're dead, we, really, it's probably somebody they're going to be able to do a good job if they were already doing that for you while you were alive. So the same kind of person, somebody who's relatively good with money, somebody who you're comfortable sharing your wishes with, and that you're relatively certain um, will be able to communicate well with the other people who might be involved. Proximity is relatively important, and there are rules in place. Like, for example, in Canada, we shouldn't name an American executor. I don't know if that's true in reverse. I believe it is, but the states have they're so stately, and so their rules are different. Whereas we have a little bit more of a federation here in Canada. So while there are differences, basically all across Canada, we should not name an American executor. Right? You can name somebody who lives in the States, although I don't recommend it, but you should not name somebody who is not Canadian. Right? So proximity matters, but not necessarily in the very same way that it matters for like a medical advocate, right? Good on that?
Just
Yeah,
but dual citizenship then would be fine though, right? As long as they have Canadian.
1000%.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. There are sometimes, depending on where they own property and things like that, my oh, there can sometimes be some stuff around that just gets complicated. So check with a lawyer if you are thinking of naming a somebody who's currently living in the States, even if they're dual. Okay,
Okay, thank you.
just double check. All right, let me get you. So there's this really wonderful kind of like hack, right? And this is what we're going to work on together. Sorry, my thing is not moving. One second. There we go. So letters of instruction, right? Letters of instruction are incredible for essentially somebody always says, well, wait, what if I do all this work and my wishes aren't honored? This is the answer to that question. Your letters of instruction, they're going to be called different things, but they can provide language in your own words that give instruction to the people who are left behind, right? They're not legal, but they're so exceptionally useful, and they have actually a lot of legal weight because plain English instructions are given weight in a court system, for example. If something does get litigious, they have been shown over and over to lessen family tension, and that judges who are in positions of making decisions on things that might be a little bit up in the air, judges put a lot of weight on this because they're just plain language. It's like, oh, I get it. This person has expressed this wish. So there's a few names for them. The letter of instruction is what we call something that goes along with a will. And that can be like, I'm just looking around here, like this behind me, my letter tray, right? That's worth nothing. That's not something that would necessarily go as a gift in my will. A lot of lawyers will tell you, like, no, don't make specific gifts, right? So I wouldn't name that in my will. But that's something in a letter of instruction that you could say, my letter tray should go to my daughter or to my niece because she loves putting her Legos in it or whatever. Plain language, right? You can think about this for things like comic book collections or the china or that kind of stuff that doesn't necessarily have financial value, but might have heart value, right? The little things that matter a lot, right? In our time together, we're going to actually work on something called a Dear Doctor letter. These are letters of instruction that accompany your medical advocacy documents. This is the core of the work that we're going to do next week, and it's hugely important. When you share the instructions about what you might want in specific circumstances, specific medical circumstances, people are so much clearer and more comfortable talking on your behalf. So we'll write our own, we'll write in our own plain English. We'll answer questions about what matters to us, and then we'll put that. I'll teach you next week how to put that into a Dear Doctor letter. All right. Um, the list of assets and passwords. Who was that? Was that Sheila that was asking about that? But this accompanies your power of attorney, right? So this is something in my workbook, I actually talk about the Life Locker, which is a product from Legal Wills. That's a really great way to put everything together in one place and make sure, and it takes forever. Oh my God, I'm not very good at this stuff. Takes forever to do, but it is really important. And it is essentially like a letter of instruction that would go along with your POA, right? And then your funeral wishes. Your funeral wishes are a letter of instruction that go along with maybe a contract for your funeral, for your cremation, or something like that. And that's what we're going to do together in week 3. So each of these things are going to be kind of attacked in little pieces, little manageable chunks. But by the end of it, we'll have all of the plain language stuff done. And then it will be very simple, whether you're choosing to use a lawyer or whether you're choosing to use a just do it yourself on an online platform. You'll have everything you need in place to get it done. The administrivia, I cannot hide this from you. It sucks. The it sucks. It takes a long time. It's like really the sort of, it's just what everything is, where everything's kept, all of that kind of stuff. This is really important, though, to accompany the power of attorney documentation. So it is important. The way to get it done, though, I would say, is to at the at the very bare minimum, those pages that I'm asking you to do this week, 9, 10, 11, 12, 11, 12, 13, yeah, 11, 12, answering those questions will go a long way to helping with the administrivia. So even if you just do that this week, you're still going to be ahead of the game. All right. It's kind of cracking your way into the administrivia. The other way to get this done, I literally, I'm going to show, I'm going to stop my share. I have this little clock that's like a teacher's clock, and you see it has a visual where you can set the time and then you can see how much time is left, right? So you set it for half an hour and you just work until the damn beeper goes off. Just put it in your calendar and once a week for the next 4 weeks, set a timer for 15 minutes, half an hour, something like that. Pick some task that you hate and just do it for 15 minutes, 30 minutes, something like that. I swear to God, it took me 6 months to get my stuff done, but that's how I did it. And it was kind of too big otherwise. So that's part of the reason that I don't set you up with a 37-page checklist, right? You can find that checklist somewhere. Maybe you'll use LifeLocker, maybe you'll find there's a few suggestions in the workbook of how you might like to do it. But at the very least, just do those first pages at the front. Okay? Super, super, super important. And it'll make you feel good because you'll be like, I got it done. It'll make you feel good. All right. So how you're going to succeed at this, block off the time, right? This week, all I want you to do is 15 minutes on the clock for your administrivia. I want you to decide how and where you're going to keep this information. Maybe you're going to go with LifeLocker. Maybe you have a password keeper somewhere, whatever. You dig into that, you think it through. You can come to office hours and ask me my thoughts, whatever. Just do your first little bit of work this week. Complete the critical info, okay? Um, you can look at the letter of instruction for your will. Just start thinking in the broadest terms, just in the broadest terms, in plain English. What matters to me? What do I want? What am I thinking about before I talk to the lawyer? All right. So just draft. You see that word is in capitals and bolded and italicized. Draft. You're not finalizing anything. Just think a little bit, okay? If you're the kind of person that you get a lot of peace from reading ahead, then go ahead. Go ahead and read ahead. For some people, that stresses you out, right? So you don't have to. You decide, do I want to kind of hear what Krista has to say before I read it? Or do I want to read things and then hear what Krista has to say? You decide whatever you're going to do, but if reading ahead brings you peace, then go ahead and read ahead. And if not, don't. Just come to class. All right? Oh, see, now I've just lost my stupid little cursor just went away. Okay, sorry, my friends. So everybody wants a checklist. So here's your damn checklist, okay? Here's your checklist. Do not go off madly off in all directions, right? Avoid the rabbit holes. If you're the kind of person who sort of starts one thing and, like me, thinks about 14 things over here, great. Have a pen, write them down so that you don't forget them, but just stick to the workbooks. On the Learning Hub, it's literally start here, now do this, now do this, and it points you every step of the way. There's lots of time to think about some of these other things later, but for now, just avoid the rabbit holes. All right, stick to the workbooks. Set deadlines for yourself. I'll actually pop on when we get to questions in a second, I'll put in the chat a link to a Google Sheet, and I would love for you to put your name in, put your due date for this work. You can always adjust it later, but that will help me help you stay on track. All right? Set deadlines for yourself. I would love for you to talk. Some folks have people that they're coming with. Other folks have people that they're going to be talking with week by week. Please share your thoughts. Don't wait until it's all finished. Share as you go. In fact, on that little list that I'm going to send out to you, there's an opportunity to say, yeah, I'd love a buddy, right? For all of my emerging doulas, I can't recommend it highly enough. Pick a buddy and set somebody that you can talk to and talk through the magic that can happen in these little cohorts. People come in, they don't know anybody, and 4 weeks, or in the case of the doulas who are going to be hanging around for 8 weeks, you're going to know, you're going to have gone through things together, and it can be so powerful to bounce things off in a really a low stress kind of way, right? Focus on what you're going to gain by doing this work. Brian he said, I saw stuff that really went sideways. I don't want that. When it feels a little overwhelming, just remember that every page that you turn in these workbooks is getting you farther away from what you don't want and closer to something that is going to be so neat and tidy. So just focus on what you're going to gain. And when you get stuck, if you get stuck, then come to office hours. If office hours aren't convenient for you, then email me. If that's not convenient for you, you can text me and I can send you a voice message, right? I don't want anyone at any point to sort of fall off because they feel overwhelmed. At some point during our time together, you're going to feel like this guy. It might be next week, actually. In fact, next week is kind of hell. It's a big week next week, and I have seen it. People come out of this class going like, okay, there's not that much to do to this week, and I feel like that was reasonably well explained, and they're feeling pretty good. Next week, it's just like bang, and you might feel like this guy. But in week 3, it's going to start making sense, some of the things that were percolating for you. And by the end of week 4, you're really going to be in a big open meadow. It's really going to feel so much better because there's so many chances, so many opportunities to stop and ask questions. There's so many opportunities to come in and check with me. There's opportunities to check with each other. And if you avoid the rabbit holes, and just do as you're told, then then I promise you that you will, step by step, you will get through this. So, oh, Sheila, you should have interrupted me. You said, what is an NOK? NOK stands for next of kin. See, that's a
Hmm.
perfect example of interrupting me when I say silly things in acronyms.
Actually, I kind of figured it out.
Oh, you did? Okay. Well, that's okay. But if you were wondering it, other people might have too. So, what other questions do you have in this last few minutes about things that we've covered or what I'm going to ask you to do in this week ahead?
Um, Tell me again when your office hours are.
Yes, and they're in the Learning Hub too, okay?
Yeah, I saw
Office
that.
hours are 10:30 to 11:30 on Mondays, Pacific time, okay? Um, and then the doula cohort also has the 12:30 to 1:30. You can come to either. Regular folks can come to 10:30 to 11:30. Doulas can come to either or both. Yes, Penny.
I wanted to know, I have a power of attorney. When I look at it, will I
Mhm.
know if it's a general? Does it say general?
Yes. So you're with me here in BC, aren't you?
Yeah, in
Yep. It
Vancouver.
will either say in the title, it will either say enduring power of attorney in the title. If it doesn't say it there, look in the very first paragraph. If it doesn't say it there, look on the very bottom of the first page. And if it doesn't say it there, turn the page and it'll probably be on the top of the second page.
Okay,
You can tell I've looked at these a few times. So, and
thank you.
the words that you're going to be looking for is it will literally say, this power endures, or this is an enduring power.
Okay.
Okay. You're looking for the word endures or enduring.
And if it doesn't have
Then
that
it's a
word,
general.
then it's a general. Okay.
Yeah. And generals are shocking to people. They had no idea that it doesn't help them when they're incapacitated. And this is a perfect, oh my God, you got me on a soapbox here, but this is the perfect example of people feeling a false sense of security from the paperwork.
Yeah, mine's 30 years old.
Yes, then I can almost guarantee you, if yours is 30 years old, my love, I can almost guarantee you it's a general power.
Okay.
Those were very common back then. And the thing is they're useless when you become incapacitated. You could light a match with it. Like it's useless. So
Okay.
I know, but don't worry, 30 years is plenty. I mean, you've gotten your value out of it, right? By this
A
point.
false sense of security for 30 years.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Oh, I love seeing your smiles. That's so nice. What else do you have for me?
Krista,
Yes.
it seems like a silly question, but the medical representation agreement or whatever you
Mhm.
want to call it,
Mhm.
how so say you get hit by a bus,
Mhm.
everything's bad, all the things, you're taken to the hospital by the ambulance, the usually the hospital looks up your emergency contact, phones them, like how would they even know who your medical person is?
I know. That's such a good question. Where are you again?
I'm in BC.
Yeah, okay. So here in BC, we have five health authorities. Five.
Yes, we do.
And
Yes, we do.
none of them talk to each other.
Nope.
And actually each of them use a different emergency contact form. The representation agreement, however, is at least linking through health authorities now. So that's new. But what I recommend is once you have a representation agreement or whatever it's called where you live,
Yes.
friends, everybody else, okay, so whatever yours is called where you live, I recommend that you take it with you to every appointment that you go to. Every appointment. So if you're going to see somebody about your arthritis, sorry, you probably don't have arthritis, but when I go to see somebody about my arthritis, I take it to that doctor. When I go to see, when I had my surgery last year, I was like kicking myself because I'm like, oh, this is the only time that I'm at St. Paul's. I should have brought it. So,
Mm.
yes, take it to your doctor, right? But here's the thing, your doctor is not going to be
Exactly.
the person serving you when that urgent situation has occurred. You know who will be called into action relatively quickly when you don't make it home, is probably the person that you've named as your representative.
Exactly.
So right
Yes.
away, they're going to know something's wrong. I need to get this information, blah, blah, blah. We'll go through it very closely in the weeks ahead, but as you finish these documents, right, which you probably won't for several weeks, but as you finish them, the point is to share them. The
Mhm.
point is to say, okay, Leah has named Jenny as her as her enduring power of attorney. Jenny, I need you to come over and walk through some things with me so that I can show you my passwords, my assets, and da da da. Da. Jenny has named Leah as her representative. You know what? Come and sit with me. I'm going to share my doctor letter with you, and I'm going to share my answers to the questions in the workbook with you.
Mhm.
And I'm going to make sure you understand them, right? These are these people, all three of these people, or one person that we appoint to all three roles, whatever, two people that we appoint to three roles. These people are advocates. And advocates can only advocate when they are well informed.
Mhm.
And that's the work that you're going to do and then share with them,
Right.
right? There are a few things that can occur. um, for people, like you can wear a medical alert bracelet. That's the one place that people are trained, but the instructions, it won't say who your rep is. It would just be like DNR, right? Do not resuscitate. But here's the thing, the likelihood of the heart stopping, relatively slim. There are so many other things that could happen, which is why I really don't like us putting medical instructions in this work. I
Mhm.
like us talking about what matters so that
Mhm.
we can make these bigger decisions when a bunch of stuff is coming at us,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Ha, she's converted. Yes, okay, I've caught one. So good. So, one more question, and then I've got something for you to do. And my beautiful friends who didn't come on today, you are so welcome to never come on. But also remember that I will have really fun glasses for you every single week. And if you do come on, you get a star. So I'm just saying, but you never have to. All right, let me grab something for you before I make you do, I still got you for 2 more minutes and then keep you for all of those minutes. So let me just grab this one thing for you. Um, da-da-da. Is this it? Okay. So here's I have shared this for you. Oh, who's that? Whoever that was, make them stop. Um, all right. I'm going to pop this in. So in the chat right now, you'll see this in the Learning Hub. You'll see it in an email that I send out to you as well. But this is the accountability document that I would just so warmly invite you to go find your tab. You might doulas, by the way, you can fill out both. So whichever group you're in, plus the tab that's just for doulas, and for the beloveds who are my straight prep schoolers, as it were, you can just pick, are you the 4 p.m. person or the 7 p.m. person? You are a 7 p.m. person. So just go and pop your name in and give me the date that you think you might like to have this project done. Think about whether you might be open to somebody being a buddy with you. That's completely self-managed and nobody's gonna, I'm not gonna like pair you with somebody and be like, you have to be best friends. No, I just put indicate if you're into it or not. And if you are, somebody might reach out and say, hey, I noticed that we're both in the same part of the country, so maybe we should hook up or whatever. Right? No pressure there. The other thing that I want to introduce you to, real quick, is the Ashes. Where's my Ashes webinar? Ashes. Here you go. I'm going to just put this in the chat as well. So you can just click on it, open it, leave it for later. Don't disappear on me right now. Oops, Command Z. Don't disappear on me. Let me grab this. Come on. So this on Saturday, I'm having What Can I Do with the Ashes webinar. It's free. It's at 10 o'clock in the morning. Um, Oh, I'm gonna have to send it to you. For some reason, it's not copying into the chat. I can see it, but it's not letting me press it. Sorry, friends. I'll send it out to you tomorrow along with the recording. But what I would love you to do, if you're kind of interested in things like, oh, I've heard that you can turn ashes into diamonds or whatever. This is a really fun one. It's an hour long. It's kind of me going through it. But especially for as a bit of prep, bit deeper work than what we're going to be able to have time for on um, 2 weeks from now. It's great. It's fun, and it's got a big workbook that goes with it that has a lot of details and info. If you kind of want to, but you're busy on Saturday, sign up anyway, because then I'll just send you the recording and I'll send you the workbook. Okay. You're not going to be asked to like, this is, no, this is just a free thing that I do because I could talk about this stuff for hours. So before I let you go, and I'll put that in the Learning Hub as well. Before I let you go, can you do one thing for me? Can you think for a second about what you're feeling now about the project, about getting started, maybe something that landed for you today that you're going to take into the week ahead, or just just a how you're feeling now. A maximum a sentence could be a word. Do not press enter. Just type it in to the chat. And once it's in there, just don't press enter for a second. And then when you've got your word or maybe a phrase or at the very most a sentence, what you're taking into the next week with you, or how you're feeling now, curious, overwhelmed, excited, whatever, let me know with like a little thumbs up or something. Good. Anya, Scott, don't press enter. Good. Okay. Got a few of you. All right. So on three. 1, 2, 3. Ready to start. Contemplative. Yay. Engaged, inspired, and intrigued. Looking forward to making progress. Yes, yes, yes. Or progress, depending. Curious, but know that there is a lot of work ahead to be done. So a little overwhelmed. Beautiful. Yes, me too, frankly. Like the homework of thinking. I do too. And excited, Lauren. Oh, yay. Yay, yay, yay. All right, my beloveds. Remember, what do you do this week? You think. That's all you do. You think, you read, then you think a little bit more. Read and think. That's all I need you to do. If you want to come and ask questions on Monday, you can. That's 10:30 to 11:30. All the info is in the Learning Hub. If you struggle to get into the Learning Hub, we can connect and we can make sure that you get all the information that you need. If you forget everything about everything, just shoot me an email and I will figure it out. If you can't, with you together. If you can't make it, don't worry. We can have a quick call. Maybe we'll do a voicemail, whatever. Don't ever, for these next weeks that we're together, please don't ever feel like this is probably a stupid question. Just don't. I want you to just be like, this is a great question, and I bet Krista's going to be so excited to answer it. All right. Or to find somebody who can answer it for you. All right? All right. Let me hear your voices before you say goodnight. And usually or before you go off screen, I mean, usually probably by about midday tomorrow, I'll have the recordings up on the Learning Hub. All right, my loves?
Thank
Love
you.
you.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
And I'll see you in a week or maybe just a few days. All right?
Sounds good.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Good night, my
Good
loves.
Good
Bye.
Night.
Thank you. Good
You're so
night.
welcome. Good night.
Bye.
Stop the
Bye.
recording. Bye.